Hi guys and welcome back to another podcast. It's Dan here from Sports Cards UK and this is episode 5 where we're going to be talking about the review of 2020, some lessons that I've learned and some strategies going into 2021. So without further ado, let's jump straight in. So obviously I am going to release this video on YouTube. So for those of you who are watching it on YouTube, the podcast will be available on iTunes and it will be available on Spotify as well. So links will be in the description for both of those. And if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes, then obviously you can watch the video on YouTube as well, whichever's your preference. But I've had some lovely comments that some of you watch it on the way to work and people are going back to work now. So I've had a few weeks break from the podcast. I guess, to be completely transparent and honest, I've been struggling to think of things to come up with, to topics to talk about. But I've got a couple listed, so I should have some steady podcasts coming out fairly soon. I do enjoy making these. There's kind of a lot less pressure in terms of I don't have to have the overhead cam. I'm not doing things with my hands. It's literally just a mic and a camera, so it's nice and easy. So on today's podcast we are going to be talking about I've got kind of some notes here, so if I do keep kind of looking to the side, that is why. We're going to be talking about the lessons that I've learned in 2020 and how I'm going to use those to progress in 2021. So there are a couple of things that I've listed down. So firstly, in 2020, the biggest thing for me was starting all of this. So in March 2020, I started my YouTube channel. I opened up the Instagram page and started to interact with you guys. So that was the 2020 was the start of my sports cards journey, if you want to call it that. And yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's kind of being involved in this community that I think a lot of the guys from UK and Europe have helped to build, that maybe was prevalent before, but we've really kind of helped it grow in terms of the growth of the US sports cards specifically. So we're talking about like Panini Prism, that sort of thing. When that released, a lot of the European guys, the UK guys really came together and offered loads of really, really good content around that. Which has really helped the whole market and the community grow, really. So that's one thing that I'm really thankful for, really grateful for. It's really nice to interact with you guys. I've had some absolutely brilliant messages across Instagram. The Football Stop actually did an awards, and I haven't really spoken about this. I suppose I shared a thing on my Instagram, but I was, absolutely over the moon to win Content Creator of the Year by the Football Stop. I don't want to go on about it too much because it might make me sound like I'm a little bit arrogant or big-headed, and I don't want it to come across like that at all. All I wanted to kind of touch on that was just that I couldn't have won that without your votes, and I'm absolutely overwhelmed with the support that I've had with the podcast, with the Instagram page, with Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, everything. So I think firstly it's just a big thank you to everyone that's helped me grow and help support the channel, because it's really, really nice to receive all the feedback and to see that you're watching and obviously enjoying the content that I'm putting out. So that is the first thing. Is 2020 was a huge year for me because it was the start of everything. Now, initially, and I've mentioned this in a podcast before, so I don't want to go on to too much detail on it, but 2020 was really the year that I started to look at sports cards as an investment as opposed to just a collection. So I've mentioned before, I did previously used to collect World Cup stickers and Panini Premier League stickers, that sort of thing. And one thing that I noticed in 2020, and the big change, was that I had a 2006 World Cup sticker book. I had all of the stickers completely separate. The reason I did that is because I had a completed album from when I collected it as a kid and completed it. And I remember I posted off, got the extra stickers, it's fully complete. But the problem is the album was completely battered. It was awful. The condition was terrible. So I decided years and years ago that I was going to get a nice album, and I was going to get the stickers separate, and I was just going to leave it as it was. So if I wanted to, at the time, I was thinking as an investment, I wanted to just sit on that. And then who knows, maybe in the long term, it would be worth something. I completely wasn't thinking about the Messi stickers or the Ronaldo stickers being their first World Cups. Never thought of that. I just thought it was the first sticker book that I had, that I finished. So to me, I kind of wanted to keep a pristine one as a kind of a nice memento of that, I guess, really. So the thing that changed in 2020 is that I took the Messi and Ronaldo stickers out of that cellophane pack of all these spare stickers, put them in one touches and sent them off for grading. Now that is something that I never expected I would do. I didn't know about grading. I didn't know what a rookie card was prior to 2020. So that's really how things changed in terms of my collecting mind to my investing mind. So that's kind of a big thing for me. And then with that, in terms of sports cards investing, I think a big thing for me was budgeting and discipline. And they kind of go in hand. That's why I've kind of mentioned those at the same point, is because budgeting is so important. It's one thing that I really have learned is that you can't have every single card. I'd love to, but sometimes you can't. I've picked up loads and loads of Beckhams, for example, to use this as an example. But there are certain cards that I would absolutely love to have in my collection. One would be the LCD publishing card. One would be the Raven card, even though I wouldn't have it as a rookie, just as the kind of controversial aspect of it. Another few Premier Gold cards I'd like. But it's just about being sensible and thinking that is probably not within my budget now. And it's always good, and it's always really good lesson to have and to know, is that if you're looking to buy something expensive, sell a couple of things first. So that's one thing that I have started to do, probably later than I really should have. But if you've got lots of stock, just sell some of it first. Maybe sell the stuff that you've packed. If you're opening up lots of boxes and stuff and you've not bought something specifically to hold as an investment, maybe just sell off a few things from the box that you're maybe not thinking about investing in as heavily as the stuff that you're buying as singles from eBay or from StarStock or ComC or wherever you're purchasing your cards from, Facebook group, Instagram, that sort of thing. Another thing that I've learned is how to use Twitter. So I've never actually previously used Twitter that much, and I'm still not very good on there. But one thing that I have learned is Twitter has got such a strong community of people tweeting each other. There's this kind of instant connection where all different types of content creators are providing loads of good content on there. So there's lots of good Twitter guys. I will actually give some shout outs at the end. It's mainly going to be for YouTubers. And the reason I've done that is just because there's so many Instagram pages and Twitters. I can shout everyone out. But a lot of those guys do have Twitter as well. So yeah, Twitter is something that I learned how to use. I haven't previously used it. But I'm kind of throwing out a tweet every now and then. I don't want to kind of just use it to promote videos. I do want to kind of chuck some polls out on there maybe in the future, which I haven't done yet. But I did just put out a tweet today about me watching the Mike Bassett England manager. And sometimes I'm thinking in my head, oh, shall I tweet that? But it's just one of those kind of throwaway tweets, just let people know what I'm doing. And a few people tweeted me back just with some funny messages as well and some quotes from there. So yeah, that did make me laugh. Now to talk about the market. So this is a few things that I've learned in 2020. Firstly, the football soccer market, I think, has the most room for growth in the UK. I think that's fairly expected. I think a lot of people probably would agree with me on that. I don't think that you could argue that, personally. You could argue the closest thing would be basketball. And at the moment, I don't think it's touching football in terms of future growth. Football, and I've said this again in the previous podcast, but football is worldwide. Basketball is the NBA. You're not looking at other leagues outside of America and Canada and UK. NBA. It's just the NBA. with football, you've got Serie A, you've got Bundesliga, you've got Premier League, you've got all these different leagues, you've got World Cups, you've got Euros, you've got other international competitions, you've got Copa America, you've got loads and loads of worldwide leagues that you can collect football players in, and you've got teams that you support from all over the world, and people even have second teams, which I don't think they would have in NBA. I support Celtics, but I'm never going to have a second team in the NBA, whereas I'm a Fulham fan, but I also like to watch other teams. I like Dortmund, for example. I like following Dortmund, seeing what they're doing, what players they bring up. I know Leipzig, a lot of people are following at the moment because they're bringing up cool players from the Austrian Bundesliga as well. I think Aldian Cards did a football manager with them, and then he found a love for them. I've got a local team as well. I've got the team that I can just walk down the road and go and watch them, and I've played with them on Football Manager as well. So I just think it's completely different to any other support, whether it's NHL, which again is American and Canadian, and the NFL. So the American sports are big, but I just think football soccer has the most room for growth, and it has kind of the most producers of cards as well, because you're looking at Upper Deck, you're looking at Futera, you're looking at Topps, you're looking at Panini. There's loads out there. So I think with the NBA stuff, it's mostly just Panini at the moment, really, because they're the ones that have the rights, whereas all the vintage stuff, you can look at multiple different things. I know vintage NBA, you can do Topps Chrome and stuff as well, and Topps and everything like that. But yeah, that's one thing. I think football soccer definitely in the UK has the most room for growth. Probably in the US, maybe it doesn't. Completely different. But in the UK, I think, yeah, football soccer definitely has the most room for growth. I think it's going to be the most popular sport, hands down. Now, speaking of basketball, another point I've put here is not to get too caught up in basketball hype and hold the players that I think will be good long term. The reason I say this is because I don't watch basketball religiously as much as I watch football. And I think sometimes you just have to be honest with yourself and say, okay, I'm going to invest in De'Aaron Fox. Does that mean I'm going to watch every single Los Angeles Kings game? Realistically, am I going to watch every Kings game? I'm not. I try and watch the highlights of most of the NBA games, but when you're trying to watch NFL as well and you're trying to watch football, sometimes you just end up missing a lot of games. You can't really monitor the investments. I can't monitor the investments just because of time. I'm sure loads of other people can. That's absolutely fine. But I don't have enough time to get caught up in basketball hype. Now, I'll give you a good example. Bol Bol was a really good example of something that happened in 2020 where a card absolutely just blew up. No one was really invested in Bol Bol. He was playing for the Nuggets that no one was really that interested in. He does play for the Nuggets, doesn't he? Yeah, he does. Yeah, I just wanted to check that. But they did go quite far. They ended up doing well. They got Jamal Murray as well. He's another good player. But with Bol Bol, what happened is he did this. He rebounded the ball obviously at his defensive end under his own net. Took the ball, dribbled the ball the whole length of the court. Then shot a three, which no one was expecting someone who's almost 7 foot to do. And his dad was a famous NBA player as well, who was also ridiculously tall. The dad, I think he's died now. He's passed away sadly, but his dad was absolutely ginormous, and Bol Bol is, I think, at least 7 foot as well, or very close to. Yeah, no, easily 7 foot, 7'3", 7'4", maybe, just a guess. No one expects someone that big and that tall to dribble the length of the court with the ball after a rebound, shoot a three, and then sink it. And he did that. And his cards overnight just exploded. They just went mental. And I remember that a couple of days after, I put a picture of my Bol Bol rookie card, NBA Hoops, and it just looks so strange on my Instagram now because that was one card that I kind of packed, threw it to one side, thought, oh, it's a rookie, I'll sleeve it anyway, as you should with all your rookies, but it's not one that I expected to put up on my Instagram. On my Instagram, I expected to put LeBron, I expected to put Tatum, like the top guys. Steph Curry, we're talking about all of these kind of really, really, really top guys. I did not expect to put Bol Bol on my Instagram, and if you're not that invested in basketball at the time, I must admit I was a lot more invested than I am now. So I was up to date with the news. I did see it, not live, but I did see the highlight. If you jumped on Bol Bol a little late, you could have got stung quite badly. I think a lot of people were shifting their Bol Bol cards as soon as that went up, and that was in my opinion, that was the perfect time to get rid of them. I think if you had autos, if you had numbered cards, I would have just sold them straight away. That's just my opinion. Take the profit. I don't think that's ever going to happen again. How often do you see someone like that do something like that? And I think sometimes if it happens again and they go up, sometimes you're just like, well, that's fine. I'm not going to take the chance and risk it. I would have just sold them straight away. So I think it's important to not get caught up in the hype and not buy at that time. Sell at that time, but not buy at that time, because you're going to have if you're going to buy, you've got to really, really sell quick. So buy today, sell tomorrow kind of thing. If you bought today, held it, the card prices have probably dipped. I don't know, but I can imagine they've probably gone down since that moment, especially during the off season. They would have absolutely crashed because no one cares about Bol Bol in the off season. Personally, I don't think, and especially during the finals with the Heat versus the Lakers, everyone was on LeBron cards, everyone was on Davis cards, everyone was on Tyler Hero cards. So yeah, everyone was focused on those guys and probably wasn't thinking about Bol Bol. So that's just I've really played that out, a really long example, but that is my example for not getting too caught up in basketball and invest in the long term. So I'm talking about investing in guys that I think really are going to hold steady card prices throughout, not guys that are going to do this with a performance. So, which does happen, of course, but I'm looking at those top guys. So I'm looking at Tatum. In the newer rookies, I'm probably only going to be looking at Edwards, and I'm probably only going to be looking at Ball. Maybe a couple of others, but I'm probably just going to be focused on those two, I can imagine. As I'll probably be still focusing a lot on vintage football, soccer, and not too much basketball. But I will have some openings, so yeah, I'll probably be holding rookies out of the packs that I open. But basketball is getting extremely expensive, so that's another thing in terms of opening packs. I'm a little bit more reluctant to open packs in 2021 than I was in 2020. The prices have just soared. Even Panini are kind of putting up the prices, I think, anyway, on the hobby boxes. You're looking at £600, which I'm not paying. I can't afford that. So, yeah, there's that. Another thing that I've got is buying baseball cards as investments, for me, isn't really the strongest play. And again, it comes down to I barely watch any baseball at all. To be completely honest with you, I barely watch any baseball. Why would I invest in a sport that I don't really watch? I think is the one of the most important things. So I think that for me is kind of a big one. So that for me is a kind of a big one. So if you've noticed on my Mail Mondays, I haven't picked up a lot of baseball, where before I was picking up Polar Bear, Tatis, Acuna, and I still am strong on those guys. And I have all my Tatis cards, I have all my Acuna cards. Probably will be selling the Tatis fairly soon. Maybe the same with the Acuna, I don't know. But I do particularly like Acuna. I do like Tatis. I think they're stylish guys. They bring a lot to the sport. So I like both of those, but I haven't invested too much into the newer rookies. I've got a couple of Luis Roberts that I bought a while back, which were his Bowman first cards, which you can't really go wrong with. And I've got a lot of Gavin Lux that I'm holding on to, as well as Bo Bichette, but haven't really bought too many rookies or too many baseball cards as of right now. And I think the market isn't quite there maybe for the UK. I do worry about selling £200, £300 cards to UK buyers. To US buyers, there's probably, why would, for US guys, there's so many baseball cards out there on eBay right now. Why would you buy from a UK guy if there's a US person selling the same thing? Why would you pay $10 for shipping when you can pay $3 to someone that's based in the same country as you? So that's kind of, I'm struggling a little bit with baseball at the moment, so I've held off quite a lot on baseball. But it is one of my favourite products to rip. But I am holding off in terms of buying singles for baseball. Sticker collecting is back, and I'm loving it. Is my next point. I've literally put that with an exclamation mark. Love sticker collecting. I've really I've come into it towards the end of this year with Premier League 2020. I've finished that set. I've nearly finished the Premier League 2021 set, and I'm ecstatic that Panini have released a hardback version of that. I think that's brilliant. And then they've got it in a sleeve so it can go away in a bookcase. I love that. It's not going to get damaged. So I'm here for that. I hope they do that for all future releases. I'd really, really like to see that. And I'm loving that the fact stickers are being really respected in vintage football and soccer. Panini have produced some unbelievably cool looking stickers over the years, and I think I'm really, really glad that they've picked up in value. They're holding their value, and a lot of the rookies are being considered, the stickers are being considered as their true rookies, not just cards. So it's really, really good to see, and I'm really, really happy about stuff like the Camavinga rookie. The true rookie is a sticker, and it's not a card, which is fantastic for modern day collecting, because I think cards really are probably preferred, but a lot of people do like the stickers and are investing in the stickers, so it's really, really good to see. One thing that I will just mention on the stickers that's slightly annoying is that PSA's cases really need to be better. I know they are looking to improve them. It's very, very sad to see that PSA are sending stickers back to people because they don't have the cases. I think that's really poor from PSA. I think what they should do is they should hold on to them until they've got the cases, especially from the guys outside the US who are waiting 8 months for their stickers to come back. I've sent off a load. If I get them sent back, I'm going to be really, really annoyed. So hopefully they don't do that. Hopefully by the time they've got to the US, they've got the new cases. But I do hate to see the stickers all kind of wonky in the cases. It's not. You kind of put your stuff in a case, your stickers, your cards in a case. 1, to encase it. 2, to get the grade, but 3 to display. And if it's really kind of wonky, and then it's no good, really. I mean, you're paying for a service, so for a sticker to come back wonky and a bad grade, you'd be very annoyed, I think. Now, one thing that I've learned towards the end of 2020 is that Roy Keane is now my PC. Bit of a random one after just talking about all these different types of stuff, but I suppose when you get into kind of the love of collecting and investing, you just kind of find a few players that you want to keep and you want to have a collection of. I know there are some guys out there that purely invest, which I think is great. If you can make the money, brilliant. I do a bit of both. I like the collecting side. I like the investing side. So for me, I like to keep a few players, or maybe even a team like Fulham, to invest in. But Roy Keane, I think for me, has just become part of my PC. I enjoy him as a player. I enjoy him as a pundit. I used to support Man United when I was very, very little, but the reason I support Fulham is that we used to just go and see the games. I used to go to a Fulham camp where we used to get free tickets, and I never used to go and watch Man United players. I'm a Southerner, so I'm sure you can tell. So I think, Fulham just became a love when I was slightly younger, and then I just decided to support Fulham. So I'm actually the only person in my family that does support Fulham. In my immediate family, I've got my uncle, my cousin, actually a season ticket holder, so that's pretty cool. But the rest of my family are all Ipswich fans, so that's sort of where my mum's from, that side of the world, or the UK, I should say. But yeah, he's become a bit of a PC of mine. He's quite a cheap PC, which is really, really nice. But maybe over the time, I might see if there's some autos out there, mem cards. I think Futera did a few memorabilia cards, so I can maybe go after those. I've got some 94 stickers coming. I've got Upper Deck 94 cards. Some Merlin cards that I've got coming out, coming my way. So yeah, he's a player that prior to 2020, well, I didn't really have a PC prior to 2020, but he's one of my newer guys that I'm investing in that I probably haven't told you yet. So there's that. Match attacks just aren't for me, but that's absolutely fine. So I don't want to come across, and I've knocked match attacks quite a few times, where I don't want to come across like a match attacks hater, because I'm not. I think they are absolutely fantastic for collecting and for getting kids into collecting and storing cards, and I think it's a fantastic hobby to have. Personally, as an investor and as someone that missed the Match Attax hype, I'm 25. I'm not that old, but I think Match Attax came into the kind of the school hobby, in my school anyway, a few years down. So I don't think I kind of was still on the Panini albums. I was still on the World Cup and the Euros albums. I don't have any Match Attax albums. I had Shootout. A few of you remember Shootout cards. I've got Shootout 2002 to 3, I think. Other than that, it's all Panini from there on out. So Match Attax just never were for me. Maybe they were a thing, and it just wasn't really in my school, in my year anyway. But I just missed Match Attax. So the kind of the collecting hobby for Match Attax for me just isn't there. And I don't think they're good investments. People talk about Match Attax Chrome. A couple of people have messaged me about Match Attax Chrome. Do I think it's going to be a good investment? And I still say no. They are closer to the cards that we're used to see that are good for investing. But why would someone want to? I mean, it's a good entry level, but why would someone want to invest in a Topps Chrome Haaland, Match Attax Haaland card when there's a Topps Chrome Bundesliga, there's a Topps Chrome Champions League, there's a Fußball sticker, there's UCL stickers, there's so many things better than a Match Attax card, in my opinion, that I think they're really only going to, I don't think they're ever going to really increase in value, and they're so common that, again, I just, even the parallels that they're coming out with, the numbered cards, I still don't think they're going to be worth anything unless they're a 1 of 1. And how often are you expected to hit a 1 on 1? I mean, it's very, very extremely slim chances. Investing in the auto cards from the UEFA Champions League, fine. It's an auto. I can get around that. Investing in packs to try and pull one is going to be very expensive. I know Soccer Silverback is he's big into Match Attax, and he's got a few of the autos, and I think he spent quite a lot doing it. But I think if you manage to bag one, it probably is worth it in the long run. But it's just whether you're persistent enough to try and get one. So I think that's just the point that I wanted to make on Match Attax. They're not for me, but that's fine. I think that's the kind of the best statement to summarize it, is that they're not for me in terms of investments or collecting. I still think they're fantastic for collecting. I just wouldn't advise anyone on investing in them. That's only my opinion. I'm not telling you don't invest them. I'm just saying I wouldn't give you that advice. I think that's it. I don't want to keep this too long, so I think that's the kind of the summary of 2020. A few things that I've learned. So just to summarize, it's things that I've learned within the market. It's a big thank you to you guys, and there's a lot of lessons that I've learned from other creators. So there's, coming into 2020, when I first started, LDN Cards, for example, was big into David Beckham. He introduced me, not personally, just through watching his videos, but he introduced me, and I'm sure many of you guys as well, into the Beckham sticker. Didn't know about it before him. Brit Bakes and Takes. Did lots of stuff on NFL that I've learned about. Intercontinental Cards has been extremely helpful for me in terms of baseball knowledge and telling me what's good, who's good to invest in, when's a good time to sell, that sort of thing. So I'd like to give a few shout outs to YouTube channels specifically. As I said, I can't do Instagram pages because there are just too many. And same with Twitter accounts. I'm not big on Twitter. I don't have too many Twitter followers. But it is just going to be YouTube channels. And there are so many Instagram pages out there that do support me, and I really, really appreciate it. But I wouldn't feel right in only mentioning a few of you and then maybe missing out others just because there's so many that I may have accidentally forgot. So these are just a few YouTubers in no particular order that when I clicked on my subscriber thing, these are the ones that came up. So these are the people that I subscribe to, and these are the people that I would highly recommend that you take a look at, you check out. And I think it's important to kind of share other people's work, other people's content. YouTube doesn't work as you just subscribe to one person and that's it. It's not a football team. You don't support one particular channel. You can look at multiple different channels and you can learn things from multiple different channels. So the more channels that pop up, I think the better. The more eyes you've got on the hobby, and the more different collectors and discussions that we can have out there. So I've got LDN cards, the football stop, the Brit breaks and takes, intercontinental cards, FC, and I've put in brackets football cards. He's got a fantastic collection. I think if you just search FC, or I think it's football cards on YouTube, you'll find his. Maybe type in football cards Pele and you'll find out his stuff. Northern sports cards, sports cards sports cards guy. 2 channels that have popped up fairly later on in the year, but are really striving, really doing really well, putting out some good stuff. Apso Cards, one of my first subscribers, absolute legend. Brandon Chung Cards, had an interview with him. He's based in the US, Dallas to be exact. He's a good YouTuber. Frank the Collector, based in Spain. Jojo JMS, also really good, does some really good interviews. Kobe Cards, again, one of my OGs. He's got the best Kobe card collection in the world, hands down. Master of Pieces, Ian at Master of Pieces. He's an eBay reseller, but he's been getting into cards recently. I know he likes the women's football. He's invested a lot in Lucy Bronze, so it's interesting to see that side of things as well. I haven't seen too many people go for women's football, so it's interesting to see his opinion, as he's an avid watcher of that. NBA Card London, Prism Chaser, Sports Cards Tom. I'm sure you all know about him. Really good Instagram page. Does a lot for the community. Sports Cards Time, another European, really good. Had his own website as well. He was selling cards, I think probably still is. Sent a lot of cards off to PSA. Had a mystery box that I had some interaction with him. That was really good. Sunday League Investors, I'm sure you know about those. I did a podcast with Brian from the Sunday League Investors. They've got some ridiculous cards in their collection. Really strong collection. Sports Cards Hustle. He was is a basketball channel, covers a lot of basketball, but he has been doing a lot of the Project 2020 stuff. So he's investigated a lot of the artists behind Project 2020, which are really good watches that I'd recommend. You've got vintage CD ball cards, JP Breaks, collecting on a budget, back into cards, who's on TikTok as well. Really good TikTok videos that I do follow of his, but he does have a YouTube channel as well. And then finally 502 Frank. Now I'm sure there's probably quite a few that I've missed off there. They're just the ones that I saw that I've had interaction with anyway, but I'm sure there's lots of others. So if I have missed your name, then please don't come at me. It's not out of there's no favorites or anything like that. It's just that was the kind of the list that I came up with. So there we go. That is my review of 2020, albeit fairly short. I tried to cover as much as possible, but then not kind of keep this video too long that you completely lose interest. But if you did enjoy it, do let me know. If you've got some ideas for topics to talk about, again, let me know. My next topic is going to be on Topps Now, and the following podcast after that will be on the Topps Living set. So my thoughts on those for the long-term future, how it's going. We're going to be talking about the way it's grown from, example, a Harry Keane card that I picked up that had a print run of 300 to Mukoku, who had a print run of 45,000. I mean, that's the growth in the hobby at the moment. So it's just unbelievable. So I'll be talking about that, both Topps Now and Living sets. But if you have got any ideas of topics for me to talk about, or if there's questions that you've got, do drop them down in the comments, and I'll do another Q&A. I really enjoyed the Q&A podcast, so I'll definitely do that again. And if you did enjoy this, obviously please do drop a big like on the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you're listening on podcasts on iTunes or Spotify, please do give the podcast a 5-star review if you do think it's a 5-star. If you don't, then by all means give it an honest review, but if you can give it a nice review, that would be fantastic. That does really help. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much.